What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis. Of course, this is TWA Motorsports, and today we are going to be putting some stereo equipment in the 54 Chevy. And I know I've been like here on a stereo kick lately, not so much because I want like hammering loud stereo, but I just want some more bass. And after having that in the gray truck, you know, I just got those speakers in. I kind of miss it, and we drive this 54 a ton, so that's what we're going to be working on today. And so what I bought was, look, I didn't want, like I said, a bunch of hammering loud stereo, and probably what I bought's a little overkill, but we'll talk about what's in it, what I'm planning on doing here. Like I said, this is my 54 Chevy. We use it a ton. As a matter of fact, we're getting ready to go on a 100-mile cruise. It's a local event, and I'm going to try to take you guys along with me, but that is next weekend. And so I wanted to get this accomplished, or I'm hoping to get this accomplished before that starts, so we can enjoy some music as we drive around. But like I said, we use this thing a ton, and so just some added noise. We have something now, and I'll show you what that is, but just we want a little more. But either way, you can see that I've got some stuff scattered out here. That L7, that thin L7, I was going to use in here for the time being, but I found another subwoofer, which is what's sitting below it. And I will tell you guys, look, if you're looking for stereo equipment, if you can find it used and in decent shape, that is the best way to buy it. It just really is. It just doesn't get any cheaper than that. But I did buy some new stuff. I bought some used stuff. The used stuff that I bought is I bought a W612, and it's already in a box, and I thought the box would kind of fit because the trunk of this car is like that rhino lining style, even though it's disgusting. You'll see in a second, but I thought this would kind of fit, and it was cheap. I think I paid like 250 bucks for this sub. This is like an $900 subwoofer. Now this is the older version, and it does have some scratches, you know, here and there, and I did have to re-glue the surround in a couple spots. I noticed I did go ahead and do that. I used some E3 or E6000 glue. That seemed to be the recommended glue for that, and I didn't have to like pull the dust cap off there because it was just in a couple spots, so I didn't have to. So all you speaker guys or stereo guys out there screaming at the camera right now, the voice coil didn't move or anything. Technically, if you're gluing a surround on, you need to kind of put spacers in between the voice coil so the voice coil doesn't move and your speaker's actually going straight up and down and not getting off. But it was just a couple spots. But either way, we're going to be putting that in. The amp I chose is a Kenwood Exelon. I did buy that new. You can see I've kind of got a hodgepodge of stuff in this box from my from the stereo guys here locally. And I bought some of the stuff on Amazon. Some of it I bought at a local stereo shop. But anyway, this is what we're putting in. It's a Kenwood 5-channel, so we're going to run everything off one amplifier, which makes things nice and easy. Other than that, we've got obviously fuse holder, we got some speaker wire to run, and as far as the music, right? So right now, actually, this is what we're going to be using, but let's go look at what's in the car, and you can see that like we've got our chairs in here. The trunk is absolutely disgusting, nasty. This car's been driven. There's dust in it, and but look, the batteries in the back, so it's going to be real easy to access all our stuff. The main stuff is we're going to have to run the speaker wire back here for like the speakers in the kick panels and whatnot. But anyway, what we have now is we've got some Alpine components that are down there in the floor. I think there's some 2-ways. So we've got those in the kick panels. We've got a couple of those back here in the deck lid, so easy access to the wiring there. And then other than that, we do have an aftermarket radio. So this is like a newer style. It has a line in, so like your 3.5 audio jack, and then it has an old school 30-pin Apple adapter. Neither of which we really have. I still have an old phone that has a 3.5 audio jack, but my wife and my son do not. So I decided, instead of buying another radio, like an aftermarket radio, kind of like what this guy has, I'm just going to unhook that one because the display doesn't work anyway. The only thing that works is the volume, and there's no external antenna or antenna on this car whatsoever, so we don't really listen to any music on the radio, that is. So what we're going to do is we're just going to bypass that completely. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tie in there for my power for this guy. And what this guy does is it allows you to pair, it has a set of pre-outs for your amplifier, and that allows us to use our phone as the music producer, essentially. So your phone will pair to this, and then this feeds the amp And like I said, I did buy a 5-channel amp, so we're gonna run all 4 components off the amp as well as the subwoofer. Now it's probably a little under what the subwoofer would like to see because of the size, but look, I found that. I decided to buy it. I like the box. Anyway, so let's tear into this thing. I'm not really sure where we're gonna start. I think we'll probably start by taking my tent out that we bought for the car show, because as you guys can see, I'm pretty white. And I don't work well in the sun, so that's why we bought that. And then we've got our chairs in there from when we go to cruises and car shows and whatnot. So let's get all that crap out of the trunk, and then we will kind of see what we want to start with. As opposed to like reinventing the wheel and tearing this entire car apart, what I'm planning on doing is the console is where I think I'm gonna put this guy. So we're gonna have to drill a hole, and I'm thinking I want it right in the middle here, in that. So I need to take this out of place, but what I was meaning is I don't want to have to trace down the wires for that. We know they go into the radio, and we're going to be disconnecting the radio completely. So once I get this out of the way, maybe we'll have access to the wiring to the radio, and we can just pull off of it. And the back, you know, that makes sense because they're in the deck lid and we're going to have easy access. But as far as like trying to trace down the wire and run all new wire, it looks like he used pretty good stuff. So we'll just tag into it there and run it back to the amplifier like down this passenger side. But we got to get this out, and obviously guys, this is custom. He made this, so I'm gonna go ahead and take the couple bolts out that hold it to the dash, the one to the floor, and hopefully we can get it out of place. It took a little maneuvering, but I got it at least out of the way. I had issues sliding it past the boot here, which it looked like there'd been an issue before because it's kind of chewed up. But either way, we've got it out of there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reach up in there, and we're gonna see if we can unplug the radio and use, like I said, what's going into it. You can see I got the speaker lead loose and the power option loose. So we're just gonna tag in, like I said, to those, and hopefully they're hooked up to the right speaker. We'll test them as we go. Let's talk about this a little bit. Okay, so the radio, because, oh, first of all, I don't know if you guys knew, but the ECM is actually located under there. He told me that when I bought this, and for the most part, the wirings ran pretty well. I'm a little more picky than this, but I also know that when you get down to crunch time and you want to drive something, you know, you just kind of tie stuff up and think you'll do it later. But anyway, the kind of the way this works is because, like I said, the factory unit has to have power, right? Like consistent, because it has a clock in it, and it has, it requires power to power the speakers, right? It puts off 35x4, 50x4, whatever it does. But this thing is a little different in the fact that it has 4 wires and they're really thin. But the only 3 wires that we have to concern ourselves with, and it's kind of, it's neat, and it needs a little bit of different design, but there is no disconnect, right? So if like I mount this in that center console like I want to, and later on down the road you want to unplug it, you're gonna have to cut the wire, and I don't like that. So I'm gonna put like this style connector up on the dash, so for the power and the ground that we have, I'm gonna put that on these. The next thing is there's 2 blue wires that come out. One of them with the white stripe, I believe, is the amplifier out. So this will turn your amp on when this unit is on. The other one is, it's kind of cool because this runs to the radio if you wanted to have it hooked up in conjunction with the radio, which I have no desire to do that. And so we're not going to be using that wire. I'll probably cut it off pretty short. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and crimp on these connections and either heat shrink them or black tape them. And then we'll just tie into, all we need to tie into is accessory and ground. We don't have to worry about constant power on this thing because it's only going to work when the car's on, and it doesn't produce any power. It's basically just a line converter of sorts. But I just wanted to tell you guys that there is no plug. So once, you know, you need to really route your wire. If you're not going to put a disconnect like I am, you need to make sure that your wires are routed where you want them before you go ahead and start soldering, which is generally what I do. But because it doesn't have that, I'm going to use these connectors. But let's get that plugged in, and then I might kind of loop stuff around, kind of temporarily hook stuff up so we can test some things, or I might just go get a 9-volt battery to throw some tone on these speakers to make sure they're where they're supposed to be. Now that we've got all the ends put on, so these guys here, it's time to drill a hole. And guys, look, you can put this wherever you want. I just thought that You know, the dash looks all stock and this looks, you know, more modern. So I figured this would be a good place for it. You could hide it in your glove box here if you wanted to. It does come with like a plate, like a mounting plate. So let's say you wanted to put it in the glove box, but I actually think I'm gonna go ahead and drill a hole and put it right here. So I'm just gonna mark this off. I'm just gonna take a piece of cardboard and mark, kind of get it centered so it doesn't look ridiculous. And that's where it's gonna go, right there. I've got it marked here, and so I'm gonna use a couple things. I'm gonna be using like a pilot hole, smaller drill bit, and then to get the size I need, I'm gonna be using a big stepped drill bit. But I'm gonna mark this, so I'm gonna get my little punch kind of where it needs to be here, and we're gonna punch this and at least have where our drill bit's not walking all over the place, hopefully. I'm gonna have to do that with two hands. But either way, I just wanted to show you guys what I'm gonna be using. I'm not sure the real size of this. I wanna say it's 1.25 inches, but my step drill bit will go that big so we can get a nice even mount. Got the hole drilled, and I took a file and filed off all the rough edges. Then I vacuumed up my mess. I really wanted to do this outside the car, but I didn't want to have to unhook the rest of the stuff that's hooked there. You got tweeters on the side, and of course your AC vents. So I know I didn't unhook it. I probably should have, but you know, if you can take this point to unhook it if you had something similar. But either way, we've got it. So I'm going to go ahead and thread my piece through. And then it's got like a little screw, kind of a plastic screw on the back, which is nice because it's plastic surround, so you're not gonna have to worry about, you know, your wire getting into anything here. So we're gonna go ahead and put that in, and then I've got my RCA's here. I've got my amp turn-on wire that we're gonna run to the back. I'm not quite ready to slide this thing back in place because we need to figure out what front speakers are hooked up, and we're obviously gonna have to run some wire from there kind of over here. So I mean, I probably could hook it up or go ahead and push it back in place, but I think I want to get the speaker wire kind of oriented where I want it first. For the speaker wires, what I'm doing is I've got the gray and the white stripped. That should be our front speakers if this were hooked up correctly. So as I said, there's no sense in running a bunch of wires that we don't have to. We're just going to run from these fronts, if they are indeed the front, down the side to the amp. And then the ones in the back, like I said, we can tag into right there at the deck lid. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a 9-volt battery on this. Generally they'll pop, make noise. Just put your positive and negative on, and that should kind of tell you which one is which. And that way we can, you know, have everything the way it's supposed to be. Well guys, normally I wouldn't go about it like this. And what I mean by that is I normally don't put stuff together until I test it. But it was kind of in my way to run this wire up and over and where I want to get it. So I did, and I may regret it, but I did go ahead and bolt it back to the dash. There's only 3 screws that hold it there, and yeah, either way, if I have to take it out, I have to take it out. But I will say that that's pretty well made. Doesn't make a lot of noise, but here's what I'm gonna do. I did unhook the battery. I didn't tell you guys that earlier. You know, it's in the trunk, so it's, like I said, we have pretty good access to things. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wire down under the carpet, and we'll probably have to take the seal plate off. But so the wires that I have here, and I haven't cut anything off, but we've got our 2 front speakers, so our left and our right, and I did not label them because I'll put tone on them again with that 9-volt when I get back to the back, just to double check things. And so at this point, I probably won't show you guys this because literally all I'm going to do, there's not much to these older cars. I'll take this seal plate off here, lift the carpet up, get that wire through, and I'll be able to come in right between this back seat here. I don't know if you guys can see where that wire's coming through right there. We're going to go actually over in the corner. So I'm hoping that I've got enough area that I can sneak that through. I think I will, but we're going to test. I think I'm going to go ahead. As a matter of fact, let's do this. Let's put this on. Holy cow, what happened? Okay. Let's put this on and just see if that thing turns on. Because we're gonna hope it at least lights up. Uh-oh. Oh, wait. There's power on it. Oh, man. Oh, hey. And check it out. It's blue like my dash. So sweet. It is working, which is good. that's what I wanted. I probably could have brought it up a little higher to make it even with those gauges now that I look back, but I can live with that. It didn't look bad. So I guess the next thing I'll show you guys is we'll be back in the trunk once I get this wire back there, and we'll continue on. Holy cow, what a mess, guys. All right, so here's what I got accomplished. I took that seal plate up, just took those Phillips out. Ended up having to take my son's seat out, which is a ginormous mess. This car doesn't have seat belts, but I've got it hooked to the seat frame, and it's actually sturdier now than it ever was, but had to pop the back seat up to route wire back to the back here. You can see I put some loom on it just to protect it from the springs in the seat and whatnot. I just started the loom once it came out from under the carpet. So the other thing you'll notice is I pulled this thing out. It was just 6 screws that had this kind of closeout panel in there. But I'm thinking I may have my upholstery guy recover it just in black. And I think you could see where he had an amp. It was like some sort of wireless amp mounted there before. And he robbed that before I picked this thing up, which, hey, I get it. But either way, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull my amp out. I'm gonna kind of mount it away from, see that opening over there? I'm thinking so I can bring the speaker wires through nice and clean. We'll cut a hole or like drill a hole where the speaker wires can come through. Now the power wire, I don't really have a good way unless I wanted to drill into the car to make that work, but I'm not as concerned about that because you can see the power wire is already there in the trunk anyway. So I'm not, that's not a huge deal to me. I think we'll just run it up and make it look all nice. But as far as like the speaker wire, I think I am gonna run it and the RCAs through a hole in this. So I'm gonna get my amp out here. It's in that box, and we're gonna kind of set it up here, kind of measure where that opening is. So we're in that opening, and kind of screw it down and get some screw holes anyway, and then kind of see where I wanna put the hole to bring the speaker wire through. Hopefully that all makes sense. Anyway, and then once I do that, then I'm gonna run it down to my upholstery guy and see if he can just put some black on it, because that would look nicer, because I am gonna clean all this up, all this dust and stuff out once we're finished, and that boat carpet, I call it, looks terrible. Well, wouldn't you know that I forgot to run something after putting the seat. I had to take the seat base out, you know, in that seal plate, but I wanted to put this guy on there because there's just gonna be some times where you wanna listen to music and you don't want it to be like super bass heavy. Well, you know, since we're not running a radio and your phone doesn't have any way to really turn down bass, I mean, you could probably download an app to do it, but I wanted some sort of bass control. So I bought the matching Kenwood remote control, and I'll list this down in the description as well, but I completely forgot about that. So I am gonna have to run that up front. Now this, I don't necessarily want like mounted to the dash. I think I may put it in the glove box, but I won't show you guys that. Literally, I'm just gonna have to pop the bottom of the seat back out, which sucks because it, like I said, it takes a little bit to get my kid's seat out of there. But I am gonna go ahead and I'm gonna have to take those screws out, run it up here somewhere, and like I said, I think I'm gonna put it in the glove box. I may mount it to that one of the mounting screws that hold the center console. I just don't want to drill a hole and put it anywhere on there. So I'll have to figure out a place for that. But in the meantime, like I said, I won't show you guys that. I'll show you the hookup once we get back to the back. But I did take that closeout panel to my upholstery guy. I tore all the old carpet off of it. He's going to wrap it in black, which will make things look a lot better. That one was kind of gray, but I need to tie into these speakers here. You can see the wiring that I can get to here. And I really, honestly guys, I want to go back on the backside and come through with this stuff here. So I'll probably loom that, but all I have to do is I'm gonna take these connections loose up top, and we're just gonna solder, you know, our new speaker wire to it, and that should be good enough to get, you know, we don't have very far to go, because I'm gonna mount the amp like right here in this corner. That way I put a hole in it so we can pull the wire through. Now the power wire is gonna be on the outside, but you know, you can see that the power wire's here. So I'm just gonna loom it and zip tie it to this loom as well. So that'll make things nice and tidy. But either way, that's our next step. I'm just gonna cut what's there out, and then we'll go with this new wire. I've got all those old connections cut loose, and you can see I've got my new wire on there. I'm getting ready to solder those connections, and then I'm gonna loom it and kind of tie it up, you know, kind of nice and neat. I'm gonna go back behind this structural piece, and I'll probably put some loom on it because look guys, there's a lot of, you know, sharp metal back there, and I don't want to have any issues down the road, you know, this car bumping around going down the road, you know, and risk. That's why I put this loom on here. Just risk running up against one of those sharp edges and cutting through the wire. So it's always a good idea to loom it, you know, where you can. I've got all that loomed up and zip tied where it needs to be. And then I ran it down here and I started labeling them because they're all the same color, guys. So if you don't label them, you're not gonna have any idea, and you're gonna have to put a battery on them. I've actually got my battery here because the ones that came from the front, I have no idea where they go. So I'm gonna have to have somebody come out here and listen to see which speaker goes where. But at this point, because I don't have that closeout panel left, I'm really wanting to see if this works. So I'm gonna go grab our positive and negative connections and see if we can, I mean, look, they're gonna be, you know, a little long for now, but I wanna hook this up and make sure that, you know, everything makes noise before I go, you know, tying. I told you earlier, I don't like to tie stuff back together until I know it works. But I'm gonna ground directly to the battery, so I've got connections for here and then the other one. So I need to go grab some positive and negative wire, and we'll see if we can get something in place here. Let's take a look at what we've done now. So I got some side, I mean, this battery is a top post and side post. So I've got those connections similar to what I just used on another vehicle. So it has this stud that screws in and then a bolt to put your, you know, other wiring on. So I'll list those in the description as well. It's kind of handy. But anyway, I've got that running off the negative, and I know it's blue. I didn't have enough gray or black to reach where I'm gonna go. And this is all kind of temporary anyway, because until I get that closeout panel, I don't really know what to cut these, and I don't want to go ahead and cut them now because I'll end up being too short. So I've went ahead, ran that. I've got the fuse holder in place. I'm not planning on bolting that down. I'm just going to kind of zip tie all that stuff together to go up there, make it look all nice and tidy. But at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and make some connections on my amplifier. Now, one of the things you guys may notice is we only ran one of these back here. So I'm hoping, this is another reason why I wanna test. So obviously we're gonna have to split off to go, this has 3 inputs. So it has a front, I believe a rear, and then a sub. So we're definitely gonna have to split off to go to the sub. So I've got some adapters here that basically go from one to the other. So they split off a signal. But what I'm wondering is if I hook all these up, I'm not planning on bridging anything, but if I hook all this up, am I gonna have an issue with not getting any sound in the rear because I'm only gonna plug in A and the sub? We're gonna see. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of loosely fit all this up. It's not gonna look pretty. I've got some wire here for my sub, and we're basically gonna test this thing. So I'm gonna get it all hooked up. Then the last thing I will do is put the fuse in, and I'll show you kind of where we're at that point. Obviously, guys, we're not even close to being tied up because we've got, you know, we got to get that panel first. So let's go ahead, hook this stuff up. It's just standard connections. You got your positive, your remote turn on, your ground, and then all your speaker connections. The last one here being the sub. But let's see what happens. At this point, we've got everything hooked up. I went ahead and stabbed the fuse in there, and look, it's gross looking right now, but we're just gonna test it to make sure everything works. Remember, I still have to pull all that stuff loose. Well, just that rail in the back seat in order to get that other line ran through that I forgot. I can't believe I did that, but hey guys, that happens. But either way, let's close this. We'll try to play something for you guys if it'll work. Let's hop in here. Let's see here. So the key's on. Okay, I guess we got to turn this thing on. And I tried to pair up with it earlier. Oh, it works. Okay, so to pair, while it'll keep flashing until something pairs with it, and I was able to pair to it actually When I first got this hooked up, I paired to it just to make sure that it was working. So let's see if we can find some copyright free music here. I get terrible reception out here in the garage. Wow. So you have volume control here as well as your phone. So generally the best way as far as sound goes is you want to turn this down to about 3/4 and then use your volume here at that point. That's generally where you get the best as far as quality goes, but I don't know how well you're going to be able to tell how it sounds, but it's so much louder, especially like my components. It's like night and day. We'll turn it up a little bit here. You may have to put some headphones in to hear. Not used to hearing that in a 54 Chevrolet, that's for sure. But I'm excited it works. Now we've got to get the trunk lined out. So after I get that board back from my upholstery guy, then we'll be able to, you know, kind of mount things and make things look all nice and tidy back here. I just wanted to hook it up. It was making me crazy. I wanted to see, you know, exactly if it worked, and I think it's going to. So I'm pretty excited about it anyway. And I tell you what, I'm gonna pull all this stuff out, unhook everything, and I'm gonna give the trunk a good cleaning. I won't show you guys that. I'm also gonna go ahead and run that extra wire that I need to run. Won't show you guys that either because it's literally doing over what I should have done in the first place. But what I will do is we'll cut back on when I get that board back and kind of show you how I'm gonna tidy things up. Okay, so I've cleaned a little bit of this just to kind of see. So obviously I haven't went up all the way to the front, but I did get this back from the upholstery shop. And so at this point, guys, I need to go ahead and, you know, do this. I've been kind of neglecting it. I don't know why. It doesn't take long. I don't think it's going to take me real long to clean it, but I'm just going to go over with some power clean, get it all clean. Of course, I need to take the amp out because I do need to go ahead and mount that thing to this board. I'm going to mount it somewhere over here on the right because I think my sub's going to go, well, it'll be the right over here because the sub obviously is going to go over here on the left. So that's the plan anyway. So the next thing you guys are going to see will be the amp hopefully mounted to this all cleaned up and ready to go back in. Let's take a look now. So I scrubbed it down really well. Probably vacuum it out at least one more time, but it's looking a lot better. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and see if we can get this up in there. Now remember, it was bolted on, so I'm hoping I can get those bolt holes to line up. It was kind of a pain to get it out, I will be honest. But I do have a lot of extra wire. Here's what I'm thinking, guys. I'm going to try to get it up close to where it needs to be. After that point, I'm going to start to sneak the wires through, but I want to have enough room to where if I ever want to take that out, I don't necessarily have to undo the wires. So basically, I'm gonna leave quite a bit on some of them. Now the RCA's, obviously we can't trim those down. We can't trim down the bass knob that we turn up and down with, but I think the next thing you guys will see will hopefully be the amp in where it's gonna be. Let's take a look at it now. I've got all the wires ran. I've got the sub setting in there. Now, you can see my amp back here. Hopefully you guys can see that. Minimal wires showing other than obviously the power wire that we ran here. Now, I did loom that and then tie it with the just cable tie or zip ties with what was coming off, you know, from the factory. Well, not from the factory, but since this thing's been LS swapped, the battery's in the trunk. Just tied to those lines, so it looks better. I definitely like that black up there instead of the gray that was there before, and we did get the trunk scrubbed down. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. I went back and forth, guys. I know I said, or at least I think I said earlier, I thought I was going to set it up on that ledge. Well, the problem being is that the port is on that side, and so to get it far enough away from my amp where I want it, that port is just, I don't think it has enough room. So in my opinion, it actually sounds best right here. And so I'm gonna go with this. Now, I don't have anything tying this down, but it doesn't want to move a whole lot. And we don't like take off really fast in this car. It might move a little bit, but it's got plenty of slack on that. I do probably need to get a grill because, you know, we put our chairs and stuff back here. So to keep, you know, stuff from hitting the sub, I think I may do that. Now, eventually I may, you know, unbolt the sub, turn it around, and then flip the box upside down, if that makes sense. It's really not meant to be that way, but then the port could fire this way and maybe I could, you know, push it up a little further. I actually had my dad cut like a piece of wood to set on the bottom so it would level it out if the back of it were on that shelf. But either way, I'm happy with what we've got now. Definitely a huge difference in sound. I did want to show you guys this too, because initially I just had the bass knob, you know, that I had to rerun that I'd forgot. I ran it up here and just had it in the glove box, but I bought me a little L bracket just at a local hardware store. And so now we have our bass knob, and it's not intruding with anything. There's actually not a glove box in this car. I'm sure that it probably withered away during the time it was in the salvage yard, but maybe eventually we'll get one. I don't know if it'll fit with the AC vents where they're at, but for now, this works. We don't really put anything in the glove box anyway. It would be nice because I don't have like an insurance card storage and whatnot. But either way, it's looking pretty good. As a matter of fact, let me go to the other side and we will try to test it again. We're gonna see if we can get it to play again. I don't know. Like I said, my signal out here is not great. I will tell you, every time you turn the car on, you do have to push the power button on this thing and get it going, and then it should pair up. If you've already paired with the phone, it should pair automatically, and it just did. So hopefully the music plays. Now I have the bass turned all the way down here. It just sounds so incredible.
What's the point in us if I never know? If you're gonna leave, I'ma let you go. I'm tired of the
Well, hopefully if you guys put headphones in, you can hear the bass. I know it's almost impossible, so I tried to show you the mirror, but the mirror barely moves in this car. So it is quite a bit of bass, to be honest with you, for one sub. And all in all, I'm happy. I'm really excited with the way the Bluetooth pairs, the way we're going to be able to use this. I like the bass knob so we can turn it down if we don't want to hammer. I definitely love the look back here. As I showed you guys, it just looks so much nicer. And like I said, I really need to get a speaker grill though, just because I don't want anything poking into that thing. But could we do better? Yeah, I mean, I guess we could have, you know, drilled some more holes and tried to run stuff where you couldn't see it. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with this. Definitely going to be a big improvement, and I think we're going to love it while we're cruising around in this thing. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please, like always, go down there and smash that thumbs up button. Guys, if you are not subscribed, go down there, hit that subscribe button. Of course, ring the bell icon that notifies you every single time we drop a new video, and stay tuned to see what we work on next.